Hi, thanks so much for joining me on another installment of our Autism Journey. Today I really want to talk about persistence, recovery, awareness, and hope. So first I want to talk a little bit about what recovery actually means with all of us that are walking this journey. So recovery, it can be two different things. One of them can be these children moving from here and really progressing to a very, very great place to where any of the symptoms of them being on the spectrum are not very obvious to others. They may be obvious to a grown child or an adult, or them as an adult, but they're things that they can manage and then they can be as a positive part of their life. So you wouldn't really know that they're a spectrum. So recovery can also mean that they can go to diagnostic work and then suddenly the autism spectrum disorder or any of the other disorders that they may have aren't showing up anywhere. So it can kind of mean either one of the two. A full recovery, of course, would be there's nothing. So, and persistence. In the recovery process, if there isn't a lot of information as far as genetic markers and specifics. A recovery program is something that takes a lot of trial and error. And sometimes it can be a matter of, okay, this one thing may not work by itself. This other thing may not work by itself, but these together have great results. So when people are working a recovery program and really trying to figure out what works for them, the only way to figure out if it works is to stick with it. It's one of those, it's like that old saying that, you quit right before the success happened, and that's kind of the same thing. You don't want to do everything at once. It's too much for the child to handle, for the parents to handle. And if you do too much at one time, you're never going to really know you can't really pinpoint exactly what is giving the positive results. So you really kind of have to take slow baby steps through this. I always tell people, give it about, a month or two before you jump into something else, because you really want to see the results of what you're doing. Plus you may have to change, work on some of the dosages. You may start low and you may not really see too much. So stick with that for about a month, and then another month you can go a little bit higher, and then everything just may work. So persistence is one of the biggest keys to a recovery program that anybody can do. Even if you say, well, I don't know, that's too much to do. Okay, maybe it is. Persistence is the one thing that you can do. Just stick with it and never, ever, ever give up on it. That kind of brought me to some of the things that I ran across that compelled me to do this discussion today. And, last night I was reading in one of the autism groups of a lady who just left their final diagnostic appointment, and she got that stack of stapled paper back that has, okay, explain this explains that, moving to these different therapies. And, you have the diagnosis, and then it has the paragraph below it. It's overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. I can bring myself back to that day, and time stops and just moves in slow motion. And it's very hard to sit there and see this come back to you with your child. But I have to let you know that there's hope in this, that, autism isn't a sentence. It's a journey, and it may not always be easy. Let me rephrase that. It's not going to be easy. But there is so much joy that comes from this journey. And there are so many exciting things that come from this journey. You can't even list them all. I've done this mostly by myself, and I can tell you almost everything that we've done, and I can relive it. I can put myself there and be in that moment. And no, it's not easy. But every little tiny thing that I probably would have looked over before all of this, I have had such great joy of watching them go from this to this to this to this, and I know they're going to go beyond. It's really made me stop and take everything in. And if you can learn to see the joy, and you can see all those little bitty pieces of progress, it really is a beautiful story that's being written that you'll be able to fill your children in when it's time, and you'll be able to see them just continue to grow and flourish. So, the persistence is going to help that happen. And then, staying on top of all those little bitty things. As you've incorporated something else, you'll see the tiniest things. One of them was when we started the Fiji water. After a week, my daughter I asked her a question. She stopped and she thought about it, and she answered the question. And it wasn't a question of, what is 2 plus 2? It was, what did you like about this? So it had to be an answer that was her experience and her own thoughts. And it was the first time she was 4 that she actually put that all together and was able to say it. So little things like that, somebody else would just be thinking no big deal. It was a huge step for her. So, it's those types of things that you really have to stay with in the recovery program and enjoy those moments and hold on to those moments and know that those moments are going to be more and more common. So, and then this morning on my errand, it was completely the universe and God making this happen. But I was wanting to build something this weekend, do some Christmas crafts with my kids, and I thought snow globes would be fun. There's a big long story of why I thought that would happen, but I really felt it would work for their fine motor skills, and it allows them some creativity, and it's fun, but we're also working on some things that they really need to work on. We're going to use tweezers, we're going to put things in, they're going to have to glue, they're going to have to cut, things of that sort. So and my son is very creative and loves snow globes, and my daughter loves to do crafty stuff. So this is kind of a perfect idea, I think. We're also going to do ornaments and anything else. So anyway, I was talking to this lady who doesn't normally work in that store. She's in the corporate office, but she was there today. And it just so happens that I mentioned, I have 2 kids that are on the spectrum, and I explained to her why we were doing it, and she goes, you know what? She goes, my son is on the spectrum and he's in college. And immediately we just started talking. And she has a daughter that is not on the spectrum. The kids are 2 years apart. And then she has a nephew that is also on the spectrum. And she and I were sharing information, and I was just diving into her story because she has walked this path, and her son is having amazing, amazing results in college. He has an apartment. He lives on his own. He is in TV film and is really getting interested in making his own documentaries. And he has been able to use his memory, his wonderful memory, and his creativity into something like this, and his focus, his extreme focus. So he's turned everything into a positive. And she did share with me how when they first got this diagnosis that she quit work and she worked from home so that she could dive into what she could do to help her son. She was fortunate to be able to, do that. Her husband was able to work outside of the home, and she was able to do what she could from home, which, by the way, is why home business is so, so, so important for any parent that is having to deal with something with their children, to help them either get better or progress. So please support small business and home business. And so she did do all of these things. Now, this was way back. Her son's in his 20s. So there wasn't as much widespread information. So she really had to do her research and dive deep. And he has had wonderful results. Wonderful results. And her nephew, where they didn't have as much of a recovery program, is still struggling with some things, and that's okay, but he doesn't understand what he can do to help improve his situation necessarily, and that's why the awareness really needs to be at the forefront right now, and awareness as far as what can we do to help all of these children that are facing this. I know this past January it was 1 in 40. So in the year before it was 1 in 60. So it's big. This is a big deal. The chances of you knowing somebody on the spectrum or with somebody who has a child on the spectrum is extremely high. So this brings me to that awareness of why we need to share this information, why even if you personally aren't walking this, you may be able to see this and share the information with somebody else or send them to them. And that helps encourage more conversation and more discussion and more people researching to find answers. And that's how this all gets to be a lesser problem than something that is completely out of control. Because right now it's getting out of control. It's not stopping, it's not slowing down. So awareness also brings me to, right now it's Christmas, and even in the schools they're doing little gift exchanges and, parties and things of that sort. And my children have specific dietary restrictions. I don't like to use that word restrictions. We just have things that we don't consume. We don't have them in the house. We don't consume them. We don't take part because it's only going to help them progress. I've seen them progress because of this. And I know they're not the only children that have specific things that are not in their diet. There are allergies. There are other situations. Example, diabetes is something that young kids unfortunately are facing all the time. And so awareness really comes to what is it that we're bringing into their environments, and the awareness of, not always having that stuff around so that they don't feel like they're more out of place, and helping the other children understand to accept that as opposed to looking down upon it or frowning upon it, is very, very important for all of them, for every single child to learn at a young age, and to be able to just embrace all of those things, support them, and be excited about them, and share in each other's ideas that are safe within, safe limits. And then, I just want to make sure that everybody who faces a journey, maybe it's not spectrum, maybe it's ADD or ADHD, maybe it is diabetes, maybe it's specific allergies, food allergies, that there is absolute hope for all of this to get better. That we just have to stay true to the course, and we have to move forward, really dive into the research, to the people who have been there, who have done the right research. They're not just picking a piece from here and a piece from here and using some information that may just make them sound smart, but they have no idea how it got there. Really dive in and use each other's resources to help us move forward, and keep hope. Keep knowing that these children, their lives can and will improve. I run into this all the time, and we just have to keep that hope together and push forward. So I hope this helps you or somebody else that you know. Please make sure to watch my other videos and subscribe to my channel. It is free for you to subscribe. And tune in to some of the other videos that I'll be posting soon, after I'm kind of at a stopping point with some of this autism talk. Always make sure that you know that you can reach out to me at any given time. You can message me, find me on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook. And I look forward to meeting other people that have similar stories or are looking to help connect with others to help your children's journey. So I appreciate you, and I wish you all the blessings in the world. Take care.